Robin, my friend, welcome to the show. Welcome to Drunkish.
Thank you. Thanks, Stephanie. It's good to be here.
Now, you've been sober a really long time.
Yeah, like 3 decades.
And when people see you, they're just going to be like, but how? You're just a little
How
baby.
did you get? I got sober in the womb. It was weird. It was like, you know what? I know I'm just a fetus, but I think I have a problem with alcohol. And that's what you need, There it says the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. And I was like, I've had enough.
Enough
These
of this.
these hangovers are killing me. No, I was 16. I was 16. Um, it's still surprising to me that I was so young because now I have a 14-year-old son and I can't believe how young I was. Like, because at the time I was like, I felt like an old, withered old soul. I was going through so much. I can't believe that I was literally a child, such a child when I got sober. And that
Now,
I had such a significant amount of consequences and pain that it's propelled me to stay sober.
it's such an incredible story. And I don't know, peek behind the curtain, you've been writing a book about your experience.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not that like we could say that, right? And it's
yeah,
so,
I've been
here's
writing
what I
about
want
it.
to say. It is so good. I just told Robin this off air. No offense to other people that write with me, but you are one of my very favorite writers. The book is so good. So I know this story kind of inside and out because I've heard most of it. And when you were working on some big significant parts of it, my kids were probably at the age that you were at the, and it was
Oh
blowing
my
my
God.
mind because I was like, I can't imagine my kids or even myself because I mean, I started drinking what I think of as young, but I was probably 14 going on
Yeah,
or 15.
it's a
So
good time to start.
great time to start. Like, it's still early enough to develop an alcohol addiction.
Your liver is so fresh and your mind is really mushy. So, yeah, you soak it all up like a sponge.
But what's
Yeah.
crazy is that you are one of those rare people that got sober very young against your will. Like you had no interest in getting sober, and we'll go through the whole story, but then all this time later, you're still sober. And I almost want to know, like, if it's been so long that do you ever get that voice that's like, I could probably like it'd be different now.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. Come on, you were a teenager. Of course you didn't know how to drink. You didn't even know how to drive. You didn't know how to do anything. How, of course you're not an alcoholic. You were just, it was like a phase. You were binge drinking. Who wasn't binge drinking? That's like the voice. It's like you could probably have a glass of wine now, here and there, no problem. That's the voice. And then yeah, and you're not an alcoholic and all that. And I tell that voice, uh, yeah, okay, maybe, but I'm not going to find out today. So that's how I shut it up. I'm like, yeah, maybe, but like today's not a good day to find that out. Like we're not going to check in on, I'm not going to put it to the test today. And that has shut my disease up day by day because it's always just one day at a time. So it's always like, okay, but not now. Like there's wine at a party, and I'm like, I mean, am I an alcoholic? And I want to say that I don't avoid life. So I've been a bartender, I've been a cocktail waitress, I've been around alcohol and drugs in sobriety, and I went on Dead tour. And I just it's always like just not now. Like just not now. Just not now because it doesn't matter. Like if I was like for the rest of my life I'm never going to do this again, then that would make me crazy, but it's just right now.
You
Just
know
right
what
now.
gets into my head sometimes, and it's a great tool that you have because every once in a while, I get a thing, I get triggered, as they say, when people talk about like doing ayahuasca or doing something that's not like alcohol, or
Hmm.
smoking pot. It's something that would be like very special, like going like, or I don't know, like ketamine or something where you're doing it because you're trying to like heal your inner child. And I go like,
Yeah.
would that count? Like there's a part of me that just goes, well, I've never done that. And like, would that even count as not being sober? And then I'm going to just start telling myself, like, you know what? I don't know, but I'm probably not going to go do ayahuasca today so I can stop thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I get that one because like my brother's really into ayahuasca and I think I don't know if he is now, but he's been microdosing mushrooms for, various like anxiety or depression or something. And I know people doing ketamine, and it's all seems very above board and doctor, but it's just like, yeah, I get it, right? And good for you all if you can microdose mushrooms and that's works for you, but not for me today. Like that's not for me right now. Like it would have to be very special. I'm not walking around with a fucking mushroom in my pocket and being like, I'm gonna take a little nibble of this
Just a
right now.
teeny, just a skosh.
Yeah. Yeah, just yes, just a little yeah, skosh.
Well, but that's the thing is like for me, I think, well, I'm not gonna just start doing mushrooms all the time. So then what would be it's just where my brain goes. It's not even
Yeah.
serious. It's not even like this is, an intervention on me. It's more like when people say certain things, I go, does that even count as losing sobriety if you were to do that on purpose? You wouldn't do ayahuasca and then go right back 2 days later. So like that seems pretty reasonable. But it's so ridiculous because that is the
Yeah.
addict brain. Because
Yeah.
why do I even need to do ayahuasca so bad? I'm not like going through something. It
Yeah, exactly.
just seems
Right.
fun.
Right. Right. Because you want a trip.
Yes.
I think I always think about like the thing like people are like, "Oh, am I an alcoholic? Do I have an alcoholic mind or whatever?" And I'm like the difference isn't like so like I was drinking and binge drinking and throwing, I had all these consequences beyond just throwing up, but if you're having all these consequences and a normal person would be like, and now I'm going to stop doing that. Like, that's bad for me. I'm going to stop now. That was wrong. I should not have, it's not like anybody who makes a mistake while drinking is an alcoholic. It's just if you have a consequence and then you don't attribute that consequence to the fact that you were drunk, and then you just do it again or you think it's going to be different, that's like what separates the
For years.
what
For
for years
years.
for years.
For
Yeah.
years. Like it's when you go like, I don't think that was it, so I'm just going to continue on doing that for 10 more years to
Yeah.
see if it
Well,
ever turns out different.
it's all these stories of people being like, well, obviously I can't drink brown liquor. It's the brown liquor. Like
Right.
that's the oh right. It's the color of the liquor. That's what's doing it to you. Good luck with tequila. Good luck with that one. Right? Like
Oh, I've
yeah.
done that. I've been the
I know.
person that was like, you know what the problem is? Hard
Hmm.
liquor. You can't tell how much you're having. And so you
Hmm.
go from like zero to drunk too quickly. The trick is just to do wine or beer because that comes on slower and you can like gauge it better.
You can sip it. I don't think I've ever sipped a beer in my life.
No, 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 no. I've shotgunned quite a few
Yeah.
beers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at, this is like a little bit, well, it's on topic, but it's off your story. But I was, as an adult last year, in fact, I was at a football game, at my daughter's college football game. And there were all these people my age who were, had kids at the school, but also maybe went to that school. And all these adults, people in their 50s like me, shotgunning beers and like partying. And I got to tell you, it looked so awful to me. I was like, wow, I am so glad that I
Yeah.
don't drink anymore because that just seems sad.
It's so sad.
Sad. And also just, I think it through now to the point of like, how are you getting home? Also, like, you're going to be tired soon. Like,
Oh,
you're not
yeah.
going to keep that spirit going and then go watch a game. No, you're going to just be drunk and tired.
Yeah. Your hangover is going to come on before the game even starts.
Yes.
The,
Yeah.
you're not going to like that marching band.
Yeah. And I was like, just leave this for the kids who are just getting started with their alcohol issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let it go. But
Yeah.
okay, take us back to how it started. Your story is so interesting.
Okay.
You're
Don't.
13,
Yeah.
12.
No, I, so the earliest drinking was really young, like a child. In, with all the best intentions, my parents let me have wine with dinner. When I was a kid, they would give me, wine, watered down wine. And I don't know if they thought it was like European. I don't really know. But I think that, it was sort of like this, they thought it was classy or something. And so I would have wine with dinner and I loved it. And I loved it. I would beg for it. And you'd think that they would have noticed, no, they should not give it to me. And then when I would run out, I would sit under the table and I would reach up above the table and grab a glass and I would drink it and then put it back on the table. So that's what I was doing at like Thanksgiving and other kind of parties. I'd get under that table. And I never really thought about how it made me feel then. I wasn't like, wow, it just was something I wanted, right? So it wasn't like, oh yeah, that I want to chase that. It just was kind of like something I wanted. Like you want sugar or candy when you're a kid. It was just like that simple. But when I hit puberty, I went through some major, I think we would now know that it's basically depression. I couldn't stop crying and I couldn't stop fighting with my mom, and that is normal for a teenager. And I ran away to like a park. I mean, I grew up in like a nice suburb, so I just ran away from home, but I just went to a park, and some older boys came by and they had beer, and I convinced them to give me one. So, and now, uh, I must have been very persuasive because I did seriously look like I was 10, but I think that they thought that it was funny. And so they let me have a beer and I chugged it, and then I crushed the can and threw it into the bushes, and then belched and then asked for another one, and they were like, this is hilarious. And I gotta tell you, like, all the buttons were being checked for me. Like, I felt amazing because of the alcohol. Plus, these older boys who were like way beyond my social scope thought I was hilarious. And I was functioning in a realm that was like so outside of my like Hello Kitty and Girl Scout realm. Like, I just didn't know that I had this in me where I could be like this. And I loved it. Like I loved it. I loved the attention. I loved being funny and I felt so good. And I always talk about that, the feeling, the relief of having the alcohol hit my system is like the sound, like if there was a refrigerator buzzing in, and you don't notice that sound until the sound shuts off. And that's what it was like. It was like this low level anxiety that was always going. And I didn't know it was there until it was gone. And then I was like, I can do anything. I can be anyone. I am funny. I am fun. I'm pretty. I'm special. I'm wanted. I'm valued. Like everything, you know? And yeah, and then I was off to that was all I wanted to do, you know? I quickly changed friend groups and got invited to parties and started getting professional with my drinking.
How did you just change friend groups though? Were there kids that you knew that liked to party that you just started
Yeah.
gravitating towards them?
Yeah, like I think that I had some friends that were right on the edge, you know, so there were friends that were obviously a lot of people were starting to experiment then. And then once I did that and word got out that I was um I had like this legendary chug session, and I don't know if I released that information and or if somebody else did, but then I got invited to a party and where everybody was drinking, and then I just started hanging out with those people. And there was also a boy element to it too, because I was around the same time I was like developing, and I recognized like sort of the power of being having boobs and being and like doing things like looking at boys in the face and like they couldn't, they're just so like, what? Oh my God. And so I felt like this power from that. And so that also got me invited to parties too, because boys would be like, let's invite Robin because she's, and they were right. They were like, she's going to be easy once she's drunk. And they were right.
And did your parents have did they suspect anything at this time?
Yeah, they busted me. Like they busted me and they were like they found figured out that I was drunk, and I was like it was a mistake, and I just was such a good liar. I mean, one of the things with all the education around peer pressure is that I just used all that education. Like I was like I didn't know what to do. I was in the situation that everybody else was drinking. And so I had a few sips, but then I didn't have anything else to drink and I didn't notice. Like I just, like it was so easy to play that card. Anytime I got busted, it was like, it was this, like somehow, somehow being drunk had just happened to me by accident. Like I had alcohol poisoning one time and my dad had to come rescue me. Like my friends were so worried that they called my dad, and which is like it has to be bad, you know. And so he came and picked me up, and the next day he was like, "What happened?" And I said, there was a bottle of Sprite, and I didn't know that it was anything but Sprite. And then I'm like, "Did you know that liquor could be sweet?" And he's like, "Yeah, there's," and I just used everything. I used all my big eyes and my innocence and my that I you're the people who love you, especially when you're a teenager, they do not want to think that you're doing anything wrong. So they believed me because it was easy to play that card. They caught me a lot and I got away with it because, they would try, they'd be like, well, you're grounded for the next weekend. And I'd be like, okay, you know? It was like,
So you also then started getting into drugs.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, once the floodgates were open for me, I was willing to try pretty much everything. I mean, um, I did have some restrictions on myself, but anything that was available, I pretty much tried. And I really loved being part of a stoner lifestyle, so I got really into that. I also found that the guys in my high school that I hung out with that were big drinkers were pretty predatory, and they were dangerous for me to be around. And so I found that it was safer to be a stoner. So I think like that seems obvious looking back on it. Like, you know, I'm so glad that pot is legal because it's so much less of a dangerous drug than alcohol. And it's weird the fact that we didn't recognize that earlier. Like, stoners don't punch each other, they're generally not the ones raping people. You know what I mean? It's like people who are stoned are like gonna like eat cereal and take a nap. Like it's not as, but once you add alcohol into that equation, it's much more dangerous, or anything else that's more of a stimulant or something like that. So I'm not saying everyone should go smoke pot. I'm just saying, like,
It's
it's,
really interesting though that you would bring this up because on my last episode, I had a guy who runs rehabs. I had a not great reaction to this guy. My question to him was if kids are smoking pot, because it seems to be way more prevalent, like you said, is that a bad, like, how do we stop kids from being stoners, basically? And he was like, get him into rehab. And I was like, well, and he blamed the parents. There was a lot of that.
Ooh.
I'm sure he won't
Mm.
listen to this. He doesn't seem like the type that would bother.
Okay.
He didn't know who I was. Like he was pitched to me and then he was like, "I'm sorry, what's your name? What is this?"
Oh,
That yeah, but
what?
anyway, he was very opinionated and that's what he said and I was like, I feel like I know a lot of kids who smoke a lot of pot or eat gummies or whatever kids are doing. And I don't think it's bad parenting. And also, it does seem less bad, but also, I think that kids use pot to medicate things like maybe autism or ADHD or, but but my question still remains, what about kids who seem to feel addicted to pot early on and then they're using pot all day, every day?
Yeah.
That can't
You're
be good
asking
either,
me?
right? Yeah, I'm asking you.
No, I didn't think it was not good for me. It was very bad. I mean, like I switched to pot, I switched to being a stoner, but the problem still remains, right? It's not like I went from being a casual drinker to a casual pot smoker. I
Right.
went from being a daily binge drinker. I mean, I kept wine in my locker at school. I was like I just thought that being drunk all the time was the answer to everything. And I switched from that to being stoned all the time as the answer to everything.
But we're
And
saying
so
addiction is addiction is addiction.
I'm saying addiction.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're saying addiction is addiction is addiction. And I
right.
think, I got sent to rehab. My parents had an intervention. They read my diary. Sorry, did I ruin the surprise?
No, no, no. But at this, but the point that they read your diary, things had gotten like
Things had gotten
daily,
crazy
you were
out of,
tripping,
yes.
right?
I was doing a lot. Oh, so I had been gone way past pot, but the pot was making me have a lot of paranoid delusions. It was kicking in hallucinations. It was having very destructive consequences to my brain. And I think that what people don't know is that that is part of a lot of people have sort of psychotic reactions to pot. Even gummies that are just the mellow gummies or the like, it's still a chemical that you're going to have a reaction to. And maybe that won't happen right away. But if you're prone to that, it's going to happen. And I had no resources. I mean, that was way back when. And so there was nobody to talk to about it when it started happening to me. I thought I was schizophrenic. And um, I just want to say the thing about sending kids to rehab right away, that's why I said, like, my parents read my diary, was because by the time I got to rehab, the shit was so bad that I was willing to turn it around. But had they sent me there earlier, it might have actually given me more incentive to um, I might not have, I wouldn't have been as incentivized to stay sober, and I might have been more likely to separate from them and not take their help, because I'd be like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I'm fine. And then, like, gone underground even more. So I think that it's tricky when, I mean, like, I don't have the answer. I think I got really lucky that I got intercepted right at the right time. And I had I got the message at the right time. But I've seen people send their kids to rehab without enough consequences. And then the kids just are like, there's not, the only thing I'm doing wrong is breaking a rule. The only thing that's bad here is that I'm disobeying you. Right. And so that's not going to help them. I mean, I'm saying this as a parent. I'm like super scared. What if my son like gets into that? What am I gonna do? I'm
But
gonna be
what
like,
you're saying is holds true for people which are going to be most of the people listening who are adults who, as we say in the program, like I wish you desperation because it is
yeah,
so easy to rationalize and convince yourself you're not doing that much wrong. Or like in my case, there was a lot of I'm only hurting myself. The only issue here is like my liver. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not at that time, I'm not driving drunk. I'm not doing anything wrong. So who cares if I have to have wine every single night? It's after 8 o'clock. The kids are in bed. Like there's so many ways to tell yourself you don't need help until you need help,
Yeah,
until you're
absolutely.
ready. You're not gonna
Yes.
you're not gonna tell me, you're not gonna have an intervention and go, your drinking is negatively affecting things if I don't think it is. So I
Yeah.
think that's what you're saying is you'd gotten to the point where you did feel out of control, right?
Yeah. And actually, when you say that, like about the intervention strategy, people are there telling you, like, hey, Stephanie, your drinking's affecting me, and sort of making you realize, like, oh, it's not just my liver that I'm hurting, it is the people in my life. And I feel like that is the main focus of an intervention is to be like, hey, wake up, like you're hurting yourself, but you're hurting everybody. And if you have any sense of, if you're not a psychopath, you're going to want to change that.
Well, maybe, but what I'm saying is like is also what you're saying, which is when people tell you that they don't like you drinking and you do not think you have a problem, it
Oh,
is
yeah.
very easy to feel like here's why you think I have a problem because you're a goody goody
Yeah,
and
because you don't,
you
right.
think everybody you or I had
Yeah,
one where I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, well, it's because you stopped drinking like a year ago, so now you think everybody has a problem." So like suddenly I'm ruining my life with alcohol. I mean, this was as an adult, you
I
know?
know. I just want to say that Stephanie and I have known each other since way before she was sober. And but we were at the improv and we were at the bar, in the bar, and I think we were
Uh-oh.
there. It was like a Chelsea handler situation who is always, she loves to surround herself with people who are also drinking, just like create the Chelsea party. And Stephanie was part of that party around there.
I sure
And
was.
sure was. And I think that you asked me what I was drinking because I think I had like a cranberry and soda or something. And I think I said, oh, it's cranberry and soda. And you were like, why are you drinking cranberry and soda? Are you pregnant? Like it was like that kind of thing.
I was so
Are
nice
you
back
on
then.
Flagyl? Do you? And I said, no, I'm sober. And I said, I've been sober. Somehow it came out that I'd been sober since I was a teenager. And you were like, oh my God, you missed out on so much fun.
And you're like, doesn't look that fun, but okay.
No, I was just like, it wouldn't have been fun for me. I was like, well, probably, but it wasn't, I wouldn't have been having fun. It was like, you know,
I think that I'm glad you told me that because, we tend to try to make ourselves seem better than we tend to look back and give ourselves a lot of grace.
yeah, no, but when you got sober, I was like, ah, ah, ah. I was slow clapping in the back of the room.
Yeah. You know,
How much fun are we having?
my process when I got sober was to at first really be like, this really sucks that I have to stop drinking. I'm so mad that I'm not somebody who can drink because I sure had a good time drinking. And it wasn't until doing some of the works of my 12-step program and see at where you have to do a lot of writing about how it was that I started to go, oh, it wasn't really so great, was it? Like
Yeah.
I tended to make myself seem prettier, the drinking prettier than it was. Do you know what I mean? And when you start
Yes.
looking at, oh, what about this time? And what about that behavior? And what about that behavior? It was like, oh, I can't believe it took me this long to realize that I had a problem.
Yeah.
Because I quit drinking at 42. I have had a
Yeah.
drinking problem since 14. So, like, it's never been good, but I can totally believe that I acted like that. And like I said, I acted like that as an adult to people who did try to tell me, like, maybe you're doing too much here. And I was pretty pissed and thought they were
Yeah.
just really judgmental.
Right. Right. Like I'm not like you. I'm not like a church lady.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was something I was thinking about when you were saying that. Oh, which is that I also, when I talk about like, oh, the consequences and everything was so bad, I contributed none of it to drugs and alcohol. None of it. Like it was the reason I was having hallucinations and delusions and I was paranoid was because I was schizophrenic. The reason why I was like every single thing that was happening to me, everything, every pain, none of it was because of it was not the fault of the angelic alcohol and drug consumption, right? Like I didn't see it that way. And I was definitely like, this is very unfair. Like, I'm telling you right now that I have found the best friend a person could ever have in their entire life who makes everything fun and makes everything better and loves me till the ends of the earth. And you're telling me I can never be friends with that person again. Like, that's what it is like. It's like you're taking away my best friend and you're telling me that everything that's wrong with my life is because of my relationship with my best friend. Like it's a not, I was not like, I see the light, I
Well,
was
take
not
me
like
back to
that.
that moment though. So, because it's such a dramatic story. So, you'd been writing in your diary.
Oh, you mean when they,
Yes, your intervention.
okay. So yeah, I'd been sharing with my diary because I had been going down, I had really been spiraling mentally. And so there was a lot of me working out what reality was in my diary and a lot of um, trying to get my life back on track and working that in through my diary. But I was not hiding from my diary about what I was doing. I did talk about how much I love drugs, and I did know that, like, I just needed to figure out how to function better with the drugs. And I had tried to quit a few times to see if that would help. And it was the kind of thing where I like quit for a week and I was like, I can do it you know? So that's not the problem. And I had also had been out, I'd had several experiences of um, being sexually abused um, by what I call it peer sexual abuse because it's like different than, when you're that age, it's like I honestly can't even put it in the same category as like a grown man, right? These are other kids doing stupid shit. And it's like, but it hurts us as much. It's just that everybody sort of doesn't know what's going on or nobody's given any education at that time. And so, yeah, I had suffered sexual abuse from drinkers. I just want to say when drunk. And all that was in my diary. And and I had gone to like a summer outward bound experience because also I just want to say like I had a very ordinary suburban middle class life. Like I was not raised by, anybody. My parents were lovely, wonderful people. And I mean no parents are perfect, but like really this is something inside of me that I don't think they could have ever stopped it from happening, right? So anyway, I went to like camp basically, and when I came home and they picked me up from the airport, they were like, I was like, oh, are we gonna go out to eat? Are we gonna? Because that's usually when you haven't seen your kid in a while. They're like, no, you know, we're not. And then the next day I went to the orthodontist because I had a retainer because I was 16, and then after that my dad was like, we did a drug test on you and it came out positive. And then I was like, that's weird. They never did a drug test on me. What are they talking about? And they took me to this room with this lady and um she said, Robin, tell us what drugs you've been doing. And I said, well, to be honest, like occasionally I have a like a hit of pot, like maybe, but like I don't love it, but like it's around, like so like I did my normal lie and they were like, so she was like, so you're telling us that you smoke pot occasionally? And I said, yeah, I'm really sorry. And she said,
Wait,
oh,
this
that's
is at the
interesting.
orthodontist office?
No, 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 no. They said the orthodontist, but then they brought me to this other place.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, okay,
He
okay,
said,
okay.
sorry, they walked me into this church basement. So, and so they said, well, that's not what your diary says. And then my mom, my dad, this counselor, and some other woman, like they all had copies of my diary and they started reading them to me. And it was like having my skin peeled off of my body. It was so I remember like trying to find an exit. Like they were blocking the doors. Like I wanted to run away. I wanted to die. It was so embarrassed. Like I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was horrified. I mean, no one should read anybody's diary anyway, ever,
I
because it's just
mean,
like
why didn't you have a lock on it?
not only did I not have a lock on it, I filled out like book a month. I I had like stacks of them, you know? And so
You're a writer.
I was
That's what
a
you do.
writer.
You
I
write.
I and it was apparently really important to me to say every detail of every stupid thing. And I had been secretive in my diaries. Like I had been trying to keep them covert for a while, but then after a certain time, I just was like, I became really honest because I could no longer talk to friends. I had no one to talk to. I was completely alone. I was going crazy. I was not safe anywhere. And so that was the only place there I felt like I could even think through like process through a thought was there. So I stopped being covert and I started being clear about what I was doing.
So, you know what? Will you adjust your camera a little bit? Because, oh,
Is that
perfect.
better?
Okay. Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
can't see my picture because
Oh,
there's a
that's
bar over
okay.
it.
That's
Okay.
okay. I just wanted to fix you right there. Um, okay. Before you get into the next part, I don't know why this is nagging at me, but you had just come back from camp, though. Were you
Hmm.
doing drugs at camp or were you like clean for that amount of time?
It
And
was both.
okay. Because I
Yeah.
was like, wow, that would have made your system clean, but like, it,
I
and did
mean,
they send you there because it's outward bound? Was it like a behavior modification kind of thing where they,
no.
no, okay. So it was just a fun
It was just
thing.
I really like backpacking and nature. So
Okay, cool. I get
yeah.
it. Okay, so they have this intervention, you're horrified and embarrassed, and are they like, you're that's it, you're going to rehab?
Yeah, they were like your bag is packed. You're going to rehab. And I was like, "But I have to go home first." And they're like, "No, you don't. You're actually getting on an airplane and flying. We're taking you to Minnesota." So I grew up in New York in the suburbs, and they sent me to rehab in Minnesota. And honestly, like, that was the best thing because all my friends who had gone to rehab nearby my home all broke out and then got, hidden in their friends' rooms for weeks on end.
Oh wow,
So,
so you had other friends who'd been to rehab at that age because I
yeah,
feel like that was pretty rare
I don't know. It seems
back when we were
like
teens.
it was pretty like yeah, I we had a few friends that had gone to rehab and broken out and we just didn't take it seriously. It was kind of like, "Oh, mom, don't send me to rehab." Like we always made jokes about it, you know?
Right, 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 right. Okay, so
So,
you go and you're like mad.
oh my God. I was like, I'm never gonna trust my parents again. They're fucking assholes. Who does that? How could you betray me like that? And they're like, how could you betray us like this? Also, And they're like, we also don't trust you. And yeah, they dropped me off at this locked up, this like hospital style rehab in the middle of Minneapolis and left me there
So they were
for a month.
mad.
They were mad, but like the crazy things are like the awkward conversations in the car, or like we had to go out. They didn't just take me straight from the plane to the rehab. We had like a night at a hotel and went out and ate dinner and it's like acting like normal. And, I'm wearing these stupid jeans that my mom got like the Gap outlet, and like just like everybody, it's just so tense. And my dad's trying to be funny. It was just like really horrible. My brother was staying with my aunt and uncle because he was too young. It was just like I blew the family. It was like the family got just everything was blown up. It was all completely broken. But I will say this one thing, that in the car after the intervention, in the car on the way to the airport, I was like leaning my head against the window and I was looking out at the clouds, and there was something that happened with the shift of the clouds and the light. And I was like saying, like, I'm so mad. This is so bad. It's so like I can't believe them. I can't believe what that this is happening to me. And then I had like this thought come into my head that was like, but maybe this can be the end. Like maybe after this, you'll find out what's wrong and you won't have to live in pain and in so much fear the way you've been living. Like this could be the end of that. So I feel like that was this big serene jolt that I had, that was like finally something is going to change. Like maybe not the way I want it to, or but something's going to change. It's going to get better somehow.
What I want to do is I want to end here and then I want to do a part two and
Okay.
hear because I feel like there's a lot more to the story and I don't want to rush it into like and then everything's fine because it's not
I'm
how it
sorry
went
if I
down.
taken so long to tell
No,
everything.
no, you're not. I just think sometimes when it fits perfectly into a second part, I like to do a second part rather
Okay.
than just cram the ending into like another 10 minutes. All right, so
Okay.
everybody, I'll see you tomorrow for part two. Okay.
See you tomorrow for part two.
Okay. Bye.
Life is good. Life